In the early 2000s, Capcom was working on a new 3D fighting game called Capcom Fighting All-Stars, which was to have characters from some of their finest genre franchises such as Street Fighter, Darkstalkers, and a few others like Strider and Final Fight, along with a few new characters. However, due to negative feedback during beta testing, Capcom axed the game in August of 2003, which is a bit of a shame as the game, to me anyway, was looking pretty good. However, this isn't the end of the story. Capcom still liked the idea of their own IPs duking it out, like the other Versus games they had worked on, and decided to make it a reality a year later with 2004's Capcom Fighting Evolution, this time as a standard 2D fighter. Being a fan of Capcom fighters, I was interested in picking up Capcom Fighting Evolution, but was kind of weary due to the bad reviews at the time. But it's been a while, a good long while, maybe time has been kind to the game. Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's boot it up and see what Capcom Fighting Evolution is all about. Oh, and on a side note, in Europe and Japan, the game's called Capcom Fighting Jam, and personally, I kinda like that name a lot better. Fighting Evolution takes characters, 4 each, from a few of Capcom's flagship fighter series. Street Fighter II has Ryu, Guile, M-Bison, and Zangief. Darkstalkers has Anakaris, Dimitri, Felicia, and Jeddah. Street Fighter Alpha includes Guy, Karen, Rose, and Sakura. Red Earth gives us Leo, Hauser, Hydron, and Kenji. Street Fighter III brings Alex, Chun-Li, Urien, and Yoon to the table. And lastly, Ingrid, a new character from the cancelled All-Stars mentioned earlier, as well as 2 boss fighters, Pyron from Darkstalkers and Shinakuma from Street Fighter. Each game's fighters have their movesets and super moves from that represented game, although Street Fighter II is actually the Super Edition. Though there are some differences, like some characters can't air block or dash while others can, things like that. However, you may notice that some characters aren't as powerful as they usually are, and it's because Capcom tried to balance everyone out by either cutting the damage or removing some moves altogether. For a competitive player, this is probably going to be a big no-no, especially if your favorite fighter has been nerfed. For the casual fighter fan like myself, though, it's not too terrible. Something that was a bit jarring was that this fighter, while you can choose 2 characters to play as, isn't a 2v2 tag-based system like the other Versus games Capcom's made before. Instead, when a round is over, you can choose to switch to your other fighter or keep the one you're playing as. And I have to say though, this is kinda neat. Also, a helpful tip if you didn't already know, if you'd rather use your second pick in the first round, hold the 2 kick buttons at the Versus screen. Sadly though, when it comes to modes, Fighting Evolution comes up pretty short. You have Arcade, Versus Mode, Training, and Live. And that's it. On top of that, Arcade Mode is pretty short with only 6 matches, then ending and credits. Though it's pretty cool that you see both character endings as opposed to only whoever beat the final boss. As with most fighters on Xbox, the controls are decent, but you'll probably want an arcade stick or a fighting pad if you're going to play more than a few rounds. While visually this isn't the best 2D sprite work that Capcom's done, it's still kinda decent. Sadly, most character sprites are from older games, so that might be a bit of a deal breaker to some, while the stage backgrounds are about average. Audio, on the other hand, is much better with one of Capcom's more well-mixed soundtracks, while the sound effects are on par with other Capcom fighters. Capcom Fighting Evolution, or Jam, man, Jam just sounds so much better. Anyway, it may be true that this one's not the best Capcom's done with a fighting game, and there are better brawlers from them on the big green. This one, though, is not as terrible as past reviews made it out to be, and is a decent game for something that was born from a cancelled project. If you're into 2D fighters, Capcom fighters, or any fighting games really, then it's worth collecting, especially with its affordable price. However, if you're looking for a more meatier experience, you're probably better off with the other Capcom or SNK fighters on the Xbox. And with that, another Capcom fighter is down for the count, so it's time for me to say, as always, this is the Dali Popka, and I should really play some Marvel vs. Capcom 2 soon. Yeah, I should. Stay green, everybody. I'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode and want more of me and the Big Green, then click that subscribe button and the bell to get notified when new content arrives. I want to say a special thank you to my patrons for helping not just the channel grow, but me as a creator. You have my forever thanks. If you're interested in the channel and would like to help it grow further, consider becoming a patron today. For the cost of a soda or an item on the dollar menu, you can help myself and the channel provide the best source of big green programming and more. Once again, all the thanks and love.